Hey there, comic book friends, I'm Travis, and this is another edition of No Capes, where I talk about comic books that don't have to do with superheroes and or Ethan doesn't either read them or review them along with me. First, we're going to talk about BPRD, Hell on Earth. This is BPRD issue 106, Hell on Earth, A Cold Day in Hell, part 2 of 2. Love this Dave Johnson cover. It's just creepy, the tentacles, the glass jar, and the creepy Russian spirit that hides out in the glass jar. This ends the antics that are going on in this little piece of Russia right now, where we find out that they're the equivalent of the BPRD in Russia. They have a radio broadcast that broadcasts 24/7, all the time, nonstop. This song, they've discovered this song shuts out this demon force, and the broadcast gets shut down for a while. And chaos ensues. There's some good giant monster whacking in here. Some other great little tidbits. This continues to be a extremely solid series. You get enough little nuggets about the characters and their personalities, along with fun action and that sort of stuff. Just a really solid book. I love towards the end of this, they quote unquote win, but of course they win at the expense of quite a few people's lives. And the leader of the Russian equivalent of this group tells one of the agents, because they make it, basically, kind of point out that they didn't really win because these other people were hurt or injured or killed and that sort of stuff. And he informs her that you should enjoy the partial victories because I have a feeling that's the best we're going to get for a very long time is partial victories, which was kind of cool. Just a really enjoyable comic. I really think that they've, like I said, that they've got a really strong book and world going on with this thing. I think it's going to start quickly getting on my list of things to go back and pick up the last 80 some issues or so that I do not own, just to see how this thing all evolved in the first place. But good stuff. Always recommend this. You don't want to start right with this issue, I wouldn't think. Maybe next issue, there's some stuff you'd have to catch up on as far as what's happening in the entire world, but it doesn't take much. They kind of recap that a lot as to kind of what the craziness is going on, and then just go with it and see where the characters take you and stuff if you're interested. But I know a few of us out there are reading this in the community, in the YouTube community, but pretty good stuff. Okay, 5 Ghosts. The Haunting of Fabian Gray. Love that cover. Super awesome cover. This is a really fun issue. There's not a lot of dialogue in it. But there's lots of pictures that tell us the story, which of course is the beauty of a comic book. At the very beginning, we get these great shots of sperm swarming across on the first panels. Obviously, Fabian and his sister, they're twins. They look like they obviously adventured together, and then something happened with this crystal thing, and she was taken in some sense, and somehow he survived it. We still don't have the full story as to how he ended up with the powers that he has through that. But this issue is absolutely cool. The African spider cult, their green eyes, the giant spiders. It's craziness. It's interesting watching Fabian cycle through the 5 ghosts to deal with the problem, and those spirits obviously have some malevolence or something to them. They're trying to take control of him. He loses control. We get this character shows up and kind of subdues Fabian so he doesn't get out of control and kill his friend. We don't know who this character is yet, but I'm sure we'll see in the next issue because they're all kind of running off together in a Zeppelin that the character has for them to get away from the giant spiders and the cult and whatnot. But just a really fun romp. Nothing, super, deep, incredibly thoughtful, but just really, really fun romp and really cool. Very much enjoying it. Looking forward to the next issue. It's just kind of an exciting kind of a book. Okay, next, Mara, and this is issue 4. I don't know what I thought this book was going to be when I first started collecting it. But it has turned into all kinds of awesome. Mariah is no longer a volleyball player. She's been picked up by the government. The government's kind of trained her and tested her, and she goes off the charts on everything. Her power continues to... she becomes more and more powerful and has more and more powers. She's fairly godlike in a sense now, and it's really interesting just to kind of see what happens, how she chooses to deal with it, and how the government that tried controlling her figures out what they're going to do when they can't control her, because what are you going to do to her? Because they don't seem to be able to stop her in any way. Really cool book. Really interesting. If you haven't been picking it up, I would suggest you go and get it. I think there's 2 more issues left. I don't know how hard this is to pick up out there. Or at least, once it's all done, at this point, 4 issues in, I would say pick up a trade. It's kind of a cool story. It's just really, okay, it really leaves you with going, man, now what? What's next for somebody that is in her position? It'll be interesting. It'll be interesting to see what goes on with the politics and her powers and stuff. So very much enjoying that. Revival, issue number 9. More questions and more subplots are exposed. A few get tightened up. We're basically seeing more and more of the people who live in the area. They're filling in this giant city. Every comic seems to have a new person not giant city, from this area. A new person gets added to the cast. How important they are, we don't know. But just that there's all these different types of people. I think that's really cool that we're getting this, slowly getting this whole town developed around us, different types of people. In this one, there's kind of I don't know if he's a white supremacist so much, but he's certainly a kind of a very conservative militia type of a guy. The sheriff goes to him and goes, hey, look, the FBI is going to be poking around more pretty soon. Mellow out, keep it down on the down low. Don't stir things up. Don't cause chaos, because you don't want it. I don't want it. What you believe and how you think the government should run, it's got nothing to do with this revival thing. So let's not stir that pot. But it's just getting a little piece of that character. Getting a piece of the character that we got in the last issues with the exercise fitness guy, and just these different little chunks of different people that live here in a kind of, maybe it's a stretch, but kind of like the poem Spoon River, where the Spoon River Anthology, where every poem is about a different person who lives in Spoon River. This is kind of, every issue seems to have stuff going on with you. Plus, there's these main plot lines moving forward. And at the end of this, we've got kind of a crazy cliffhanger about to happen. The guys who have been doing the chopping up of illegal body parts, they're trying to hide what they're doing. They kind of get exposed a little bit. They snatch up some hostages, and the 2 sisters are coming to pick up the kid, and the kid is one of the hostages they've scooped up. So it's going to just be that should be, next issue should just be a bonkers as far as that goes. And then you have these, of course, the alien mystery. You have the younger sister who's who's come back from the dead, who kind of is hallucinating that she sees the aliens, or maybe she doesn't, kind of a thing. And you have the kind of an AA people of the revival kind of people, and one of their members is out in the cemetery, digging up something that we don't know what's going on. He seems more crazed than everybody else that's crazy in the place does. Just lots and lots going on, and I think it's just really an interesting, fun read because there's always something. There's always some little something. Accept the ride, go for the ride, take in these people that we're being introduced to, fill in your brain of all the different townsfolk that live in this area, and enjoy it, because I think it's a really cool long haul kind of a story where we get little bits and pieces, but it's all just fun. It definitely feels serialized. I will continue to say it feels kind of like the Twin Peaks TV show. But yeah, a real noir. It's just good. It's good. Really enjoying it. Okay, one of my favorite comics, of course, Sixth Gun, issue 30. I guess I'll be a little more careful about how I talk about this book, since how so many of you have started picking up the trades and whatnot, which I think is awesome. Things are getting really rough for Becky, and her embracing the pistol. Most of our motley crew is kind of in pretty bad shape right now. They've hooked up with some Native Americans, and they're trying to get their heads screwed back on, and they're having a hard time doing it. And meanwhile, you've got Mrs. Humes, who is pursuing a line of attack that potentially could be very, very dangerous for herself. But she feels it's going to get her to the ends, to the means that she needs, so she's willing to do that. Very, very good. Continues to be an extremely interesting story. I absolutely love these covers. They kind of tell you the story of what's going on. There's no BS on these covers. The covers actually display part of what's happening in the book without giving it away. Just excellent book. Okay, and finally this time, Sixth Gun, Son of Guns. This is issue number 3 of the kind of miniseries talking about the owners of the guns, and what they were doing right before they gathered up for this last attack on to try and get the Sixth Gun back, and to get the General Hume back. Issue 2 is really good. Issue 3, there are parts about it that I liked. I don't know that it really described this character all that well. And it ended, I thought, really strangely, whereas most of them have ended with them hooking back up with our first person as they gather themselves back together again to deal with what's going on with General Hume and that sort of thing. But this one ends before he actually meets up, and just kind of ends oddly. I didn't dislike it. I still like the art, but I didn't think that this story was as strong as the last one. The last one made us actually, I think, kind of care and be interested in the character. I don't 100% understand the motivations of this character, and I don't think that this story gives us a motivation, other than he comes from crazy people. His family and his existence before he got hooked up with General Hume. I think he was pretty much a creep and pretty dastardly before he got his gun. But yeah, it was enjoyable, but not as good as the last issue that made me, the last couple issues where it made me actually care about the character and have some understanding of what their motivations are. And here, I'm not so sure I understand exactly what that is. So, but still part of a good series. Anyway, that's it for this time around. This was books for the week of April 17th, I believe. I'm enjoying the heck out of my comic books. I hope everybody else is too. There's been some... there's been this atmosphere kind of hanging around a lot of the videos and people I've been talking to and whatnot. There's a level of dissatisfaction, and I hope that, you know, a few books that don't work out the way you want them to, or that you're not excited about, don't hinder your ability to embrace other books and enjoy them for what they are, and stuff. And of course, my last What the Fugue, I also talked about, you know, all the different motivations as to why people read what they read, and why some of us have moved to some of the comic books that we do. And I've thought about it more, and I may talk more about that in another fugue, having to do with the independent comics and then the big two, the superhero books and that sort of thing. But yeah, this is me just talking about those books, so I'll shut up now. And I will see you later on. Take care, everybody.